Feels good to be live, right, Joe?
All the way live. Nothing better than live, brother.
Live and what?
Live and direct as usual. You know what it is. Come on
Direct.
now. This is me,
Okay.
the king of live and direct, brother. The king
you
of live.
really, you really got to be live more than anybody I know. Maybe I
Brother,
don't
look,
know.
man, when it comes to being live and direct, I'm not saying I invented it, but I might have pioneered it.
Okay.
There might be
Okay.
something to that. We'll see. We'll see. I might,
you definitely pioneering live and direct. I
I'm,
can
I'm,
co-sign
I might need to
that.
I might need to copyright that live and direct. Because a lot of people say they're live and direct, but are they really live or are they direct? They got to be both at the same time. If you're not both at the same time, you're not anything.
Well, we know the Fox News team ain't too direct, but they're live. I don't know. They might be robots too. They could be
We'll see. We'll
live,
see.
but
We'll
yeah.
see.
Well, welcome everybody to this little hangout. We're just Joe Nice and I. We're just previewing our next episode of Fear and Loving.
Hmm.
So it's coming up quick. We did get an extra week in there, so we're doing second Tuesday of every month, Fear and Loving podcast. And so this April coming up, which is tomorrow. Get ready, y'all. Springtime. And
Well, no, it's not tomorrow. It's Thursday.
well, there's a 31st. Oh, dang. I'm wrong. Live. That never happens.
No. You're not wrong. It's just you missed by a day, but it's okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. I
This
was a
is
little off
fair and
there.
loving. This is live and direct. It is what it is.
It is what it is. What it is for sure. So
Mhm.
second Tuesday of April, April 13th, we're going to be doing episode 11. Myself, Joe Nice, Cat Wells, Christopher Foltz. We're going to have the homie Jenna Scandone, a legend, on with us, and we're going to be discussing media, misogyny, misanthropy, and it's something we've been brewing on. I mean, we were going to go in a direction this month's episode a few weeks ago that was just going to be kind of like, let's talk about media and the bullshit. But
Mhm.
some things happened, as we all know, over the past few weeks that led to us kind of diving in a little deeper here. But
Sure.
maybe you can tell us about what you've been up to, Joe. Like, what's you had the show today, and how's it been?
Yeah,
What's new?
yeah. Me and Sister Cat Wells, we filmed episode number 42 of the Joe and Cat Chat series. Episode number 42 of the Joe and Cat Chat series involved the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It's part one of a two-part episode. In in common in common jargon and or discourse conversation, you typically hear, oh, such and such is a human rights violation. For example, torture is a human rights violation, or slavery is a human rights violation, or the inability or not having health care is a human rights violation. But why are these infractions human rights violations? The human rights violations because of a signatory agreement that in the beginning 50 countries signed on to, called the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. There are 30 articles, and these 30 articles essentially outline the 30 rights that human beings should have as a result of simply being human beings. And many of
When was
these,
that written?
it was written in, oh boy, 1948, if I'm not
I figured.
mistaken.
Yep.
December 10th, 1948, because the United Nations was formed, I think, in June of 1945. Eleanor Roosevelt played a major role with the drafting of all 30 articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. There's, quite honestly, many of these human rights, or many of these articles, are common sense, but as the philosopher Voltaire once said, common sense is not so common. So as a result, because human beings have a tendency to treat other people like shit, and we've seen that over not just years and decades and centuries, but quite honestly, millennia and or eons, we needed countries needed some sort of document to say, hey, this is how you treat people like human beings. So you don't enslave them, you don't torture them, you give them health care, you give them a social
And
security system, etc.
And so you guys got a two-part show that went down today and next week, and you're drafting up some new one. You got a what was it? What is it? What was the title that you put there?
The title is called the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This week, what we did film today is part one. We're going to do part two today. What we did is we covered in articles number 1 through 15 today. And quite honestly, articles 1 through 15, there was some heavy, I wouldn't necessarily say the articles were heavy, but the examples of human rights violations that happen in the United States and Canada, the examples that we gave were heavy. So, I mean, for example, Article 12 is essentially talks about the right to privacy. Well, there's many examples of that human right being violated. Take a look at the Counterterrorism Act of 1995 that Joe Biden wrote. Joe Biden wrote the act, but it never went through Congress. September 11th happened. And we all remember what happened September 11th. Hard to believe that is 20 years ago this September. We saw the plane go into the Pentagon. The other one ended up in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and another set of airplanes went into the World Trade Center. The Counterterrorism Act of 1995, it was eventually evolved into the Patriot Act, which is the greatest piece of legislation to subvert privacy for all United States citizens. Take a look at what big tech is doing right now with regards to censorship and what can be put on YouTube and or Facebook and or Instagram and what cannot. So this is part of the reason why we're doing this episode on media, misogyny, and misanthropy, because the media has a way of telling a story instead of reporting. The media has a way of being hateful towards women, thus misogyny. And the media has a way of alienating people from not only consuming media, but wanting to be part of society as a whole.
Sensationalizing that, right?
Not only the sensationalization,
grabbing hold of it.
Correct. Not only the
Throwing it in the
sensationalization
face.
of the content, but it's something we said in our conversations, in the planning conversations. With a lot of news, the common adage that you'll hear in a lot of newsrooms is, if it bleeds, it leads, which is the the sensationalization of violence. And I'm wearing a George Floyd pin right now. We want justice for George Floyd.
Want to make sure we mention that for sure.
Correct. With the Derek Chauvin trial. Everybody in the world saw what happened for what we thought was 8 minutes and 46 seconds, but what turned out to be 9 minutes and 29 seconds, where Derek Chauvin placed his knee on George Floyd's neck. And there's been, this past summer, we saw loads of Black people being shot in the streets and or killed in the streets by white police officers. And there was this oversaturation of violence that we saw in the streets, and not just with police killing Black people, but with police brutalizing protesters, Black Lives Matter protesters. We saw a lot of that this past summer, and we saw it over and over and over again. And after a while, the more you see violence, the more you become desensitized to violence. And that desensitization to violence could potentially lead to misanthropy, where you don't want to be a part of society for fear of potentially being a target of that violence.
And that misanthropy, as well as the misogyny that we know well, is a part of a lot of the hearts of the men in this country, in this patriarchy. Those two things are honestly they came to mind for us in a big way, I think, leading up to planning for this episode, due to the violence in Boulder, the violence in Atlanta.
Correct.
It's hard to just pick a couple of hateful and shitty things that human beings are choosing to be violent over, because I don't think it's just those two. We could throw racism in here as well, obviously. And but the way we work, everybody, why we do this show every month, second Tuesday of every month, Fear and Loving, and come together with these topics, is we're solutions based. I mean, all the people on you got a lot of solution strategists that come on this show. And so we'll be talking about some solutions at the end of the episode, as we usually do. And it's not easy. There may not be one right now, but discussing what we've come up with is a real solution that we can do together. And maybe we can all do this with our friends and our peers, and just everybody is talk about this. And I mean, there's a lot of healing that comes from talking about these traumas that we see in this country, but also a lot of potential good. How are we going to help people that are struggling with these ideas that are in their heads? How can I think that one thing I've been noticing is that, because of the frequency of these attacks and the reasons, and how easy it is to jump on the white men who are misogynists and that have misanthropy in their hearts. It is a lot of giving up on the people that are left out there who could be the next people who do this. It's really easy to just be like, let's throw them on an island, or kill them or something. It's a slippery slope to become evil in the face of these people. And I'd like to think that there's some solutions we can come up with that our governments can start to take action. I don't know what those are yet, but maybe that's something we'll be diving into.
Yeah, maybe it will be. And it's this is called Fear and Loving. And from a Judeo-Christian perspective, the opposite of love is not hate, it's fear. I'm going to say that again. From a Judeo-Christian perspective, the opposite of love is not hate, it is fear. Because hate is also an emotion, just like love. Fear is there's two opposites you could have. You could have fear, the other is apathy. Apathy is the absence of emotion. Fear is the opposite of love. When you love somebody, you want to be around them. When you fear somebody, you don't want to be around them. Okay? So depending on your perspective, you can have one of two pathways to finding the antonym of love, which would be fear or apathy. It's easy now in today's society to employ cancel culture and just discard human beings for the sake of not wanting to have difficult conversations to try to resolve conflict. And as I've said in many of my conversations, love sometimes comes in the form of having difficult and uncomfortable conversations.
Sure thing.
So if in fact we're going to have some sort of reconciliation with people that we don't often speak with or have a disagreement with, what we must have is some sort of conversations where we can have some sort of common ground. That way we all can move forward. Because if we don't reach any common ground, the consistent balkanization or fracturing or silo type of messaging will continue to be prevalent in our society.
Yeah. No doubt. And I mean, it has been, and we're not going to take it anymore, one way or the other. I know, I really appreciate you, Joe. And like, if you guys don't follow Joe Nice across the board, one more subscriber on Joe Nice's YouTube gets the 100th subscriber today. So go check out the comments, check out the data there for the stream. Subscribe to Fear and Loving's YouTube, please, and then subscribe to Joe as well. But this is episode 42 of the Joe and Chat. Is that what you said?
Episode
you guys do that on a weekly basis. We got Joe Nice live and direct. We got Fear and Loving, and we got the blog fearandloving.com coming soon as well. And whether it's with the written word or the spoken word or the audio, the video, whatever it is, we're gonna keep showing up to do our part. And so please share this with your friends, everybody, and you can go to Fear and Loving on Facebook. Check out the events tab. There isn't a Facebook event for the next episode, so you can share that, invite your friends. Please help us get the word out. So that's April 13th, second Tuesday of next month. Fear and Loving, episode 11, Media, Misogyny, Misanthropy. We got Chris Foltz, Jenna Scandone, Kat Wells, myself, Joe Nice. I mean, we're cruising, man. Time flies, right?
It's
been a year. You mentioned George Floyd, and I think that might be what led to you getting up and saying, that plus the pandemic, being like, I'm going to start saying something about this every day. I think you were doing it every day,
Yeah. I mean, I've always, I guess, been sort of socially active. I mean, before the pandemic and before George Floyd, I would always speak my mind about issues that I felt were important to speak up about. But now more than ever, we're in a place and time in society where we cannot pick and choose to figure out which marginalized group we should stand up with and support. We either support everybody, or we don't support anybody.
Oh, we love everybody. That's for damn sure. I'm not even playing. That's what we're going to do. That's Fear and Loving. We're bringing the love to everybody. But I'm going to let you go tonight, Joe.
That's right.
And
Richard.
thank you,
I just
everybody.
want to read one thing real quick because I know
Go ahead.
we're over time, but another 30 seconds won't hurt anybody.
No problem.
This morning I was listening to some Stevie Wonder on before I went for my walk, and it was the Songs in the Key of Life album, and one of the songs on the Songs in the Key of Life album, it's a song called "Love's in Need of Love Today," and the hook in that song said, "Love's in need of love today. Don't delay, send yours in right away. Hate's going round, breaking many hearts. Stop it, please, before it's gone too far." What I'm going to make sure everybody understands is that we stop the hate around the world because it's already gone too far. It's already gone too far. And remember, love is in need of love today. Send yours in right away. Don't wait. Don't wait to tell somebody, "Oh, I love you, but I wish I had a chance." No. The times, Culture Club once said, "Time won't give me time, but time makes lovers feel like they've got something real. But you and me, we know we've got nothing but time won't give me time. Time won't give you time, everybody. And time is running out. So
Start today.
Start today.
Start with yourself. Get that hate out of you. Don't even let it show up. If it does show up, you knock it out, you brush it away, figure it out, fill it with some love. And that's what we do. That's what we know you do. And thank you, Joe.
Appreciate you, Richard. Thank you, brother.
See you guys in a couple weeks on the 13th. Fair and loving. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Love, buddy.